Hello there. My name is HarmNone, and today we're going to be counting down the top 10 modern Mafia vehicles in Grand Theft Auto Online. Now, if you haven't seen one of my ranking or top 10 videos in the past, there is something that you must know. This list is 100% factual and cannot be argued with. Anything that I say is based 100% in fact and is the absolute truth. Anyway, let's get into it, starting off with number 10. Alright guys, starting off with number 10, we have the Ubermacht Oracle. This thing can be found on Southern San Andreas Super Autos for $80,000, or of course you can steal it off of the street, which is what I would recommend. Now, the Oracle is based off of a BMW, and I've heard some people say that it's a 7 Series, but in my personal opinion, I think it is based off of a 5 Series. Although I can see, how you could think that it could be based off of both. But keep in mind, I'm the one who's correct here, so it's a 5 Series. If you disagree, you're wrong. Now, the Oracle is decently fast, and when you black it out completely, like I've got mine, it is a pretty sleek looking car. Of course, it is also a 4-seater, so you can, be moving around with 3 guys in your car as well as you driving. Or, if you're the boss of the Mafia, you can probably be sitting in the back seat, right? Anyways, it is a really, really good car, especially for the price. I mean, if you do choose to buy it for some reason, even though, it is only $80,000. Overall, guys, I think the Oracle is a really, really good starter vehicle for a Mafia garage in Grand Theft Auto Online. Definitely there's some better cars, but the Oracle, if you're just starting out, is a really, really good car to pick up. Even if you've already got a few Mafia cars, the Oracle is always a welcome addition to the cars that you already have. Anyway, guys, let's move on to number 9. Alright, guys, and at number 9, we have the DRE Landstalker XL. Now, this thing is a rather large SUV, as you guys can see. It has a roof rack on it as well to store, legal goods on. You can also, of course, seat 4 people inside of the thing, and it actually has a pretty decent sized trunk. Again, of course, not that it really matters, but you could fit a couple of bodies in here if you did need to. Not that you would, but if you did need to, it's there. Now, the Landstalker XL, for what it is actually a pretty good SUV. It's not the fastest ever, that's for sure, but it's also not the slowest either. And for how big it is, it actually does handle and accelerate very, very decently. Not to mention, the Landstalker XL is a huge improvement over the regular DRE Landstalker, but it does come at a cost. This thing goes for about 1.3 million on Southern San Andreas Super Autos, so you're gonna have to have a bit of money if you want to actually buy this thing. However, as far as cars go in GTA, this is one of my favorite looking ones. I do think that Rockstar did a pretty good job with the copyright infringement on it, taking away from maybe Ford and Lincoln, maybe taking a little bit away from the Expedition, or the big Lincoln thing. I can't even remember what it's called, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Overall, I do feel like it is worth the cost of it in GTA. It's not that expensive for players that have been in the game for a long time. Obviously, if you're newer to the game, this is probably not going to be one of the ones you're going to want to focus on getting, especially for just a Mafia vehicle, but it is a good car nonetheless. Anyway, guys, let's move on to number 8. Now, guys, at number 8, we have the Rumpo Custom. Now, the Rumpo Custom is a pretty good vehicle. It's definitely more of a off-road focused vehicle for maybe dumping, certain bodies or something like that, or cargo in a remote location on the map. This thing's main focus would be to dump, shall we say, unwanted people in remote locations, or maybe drop off, cargo in remote locations. That's what this thing would be used for. It could be used as a getaway vehicle too for, off-road sort of stuff. Overall, the Rumpo Custom, pretty good car. The Rumpo Custom is actually a lot more capable than you would think. It's actually a lot faster than you would think too. Compared to the regular Rumpo, this thing will absolutely light it up. It is so much faster. It handles better. Overall, it's just a way better vehicle. Of course, it does have the roof rack on the top there with the spare tire on the roof and also the spare tire on the back. So even if you do lose 2 wheels or tires, you've got replacements for them, which is always good to have, when you're going off-road and maybe dumping some things out in the middle of nowhere, as, the Mafia member that you are. Also, you can store quite a bit of cargo in the Rumpo Custom. It is a rather large vehicle, and it does have really good ground clearance, actually. You can pretty much go anywhere with this thing and you won't have too much of a problem. Anyway, guys, that's it for number 8. Let's move on to number 7. Alright, guys, and at number 6, we have the ENUS Windsor Drop. Now, the ENUS Windsor Drop is not necessarily a car for, pulling up into enemy territory in. It's more for, the Mafia boss to sort of cruise around in and, just to flex a little bit. So it's a little bit higher on the list because I don't feel like it's the greatest car for this, as well as it is a convertible, which, if you know anything about JFK, it is, of course, a 4-seater, which is handy, for being a Mafia boss. You can have all the boys with you while they drive you around. Good to have, that's for sure. Not to mention, the Windsor Drop is, of course, one of the maybe most luxurious cars in all of Grand Theft Auto Online. Overall, you know, it's a very, very good car. Now, another reason that this thing is this high on the list is because the performance of it is not exactly the greatest. Don't get me wrong, it's fast once you start going. Off the line, this car will struggle quite a bit. As you guys can see, watch this. Nowhere, 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 nowhere. Okay, finally I have traction. So, you know, you got about a 2-second window where you could get sprayed up pretty hard, especially without a roof on this thing. It's not exactly the best for, you know, a getaway vehicle. However, once you do start going, it is actually pretty quick, and it doesn't handle that badly. However, it's not the best either because, I mean, it's a yacht. Let's be honest. It's an absolute land yacht. So it's not going to be the best car ever, so that's why it's this high on the list. Anyway, with that being said, let's move into number 6. All right, guys, at number 6, we have the ENUS Cognoscenti 55. This thing is a very, very good car for the boss to be riding around in the Mafia. It's got really, really good looks. Looks very classy, very sleek. Definitely one of the better looking cars on this entire list, I would say. It is, of course, a 4-seater, so again, as the boss, you can ride around with the guys driving you. Or if you're one of the guys driving, obviously, you know, you can drive the car. Now, the Cognoscenti 55 is a little bit higher than the ENUS drop because, well, it's got one of these. Very cool feature. Yes, I know that the ENUS drop's roof goes up, but it looks really bad when it's up, so it's all the same color and everything, so it looks real good. Now, this thing actually has very similar performance to the ENUS Windsor drop, where the wheels spin for about 2 decades before the car actually starts moving, as you guys can see. So it's literally about the same. However, this thing does have a bit of a shorter wheelbase, so it can turn ever so slightly easier. It does tend to drift quite a bit though, which, you know, is not exactly a great feature when you're running away from people. However, it is pretty easy to control, so, you know, I gotta give it that. And it is just such a good looking car that I feel like it just deserves to be on this list just for that alone, beyond anything else. It's just like, it's exactly what, you know, a Mafia boss or something like that would drive if they weren't too, you know, worried about being flashy. The Cognoscenti 55 is definitely the Cognoscenti to buy out of the two. There is a long wheelbase version or the 55. The 55 is much better and it's much better looking. Go for the 55 if you're struggling to pick between the two. This one is much better. Anyway, let's move on to number 5, and this is where the vehicles are going to start to get a little bit cooler. All right, guys. At number 5, we have the Benefactor Dubsta 2. Now, specifically, this is the Dubsta 2 because it has some cool features that the regular Dubsta 1 does not actually have. However, the Dubsta 1 could go in place of the Dubsta 2 here because it is a very cool vehicle on its own. To start off with, the Dubsta 2 is the only vehicle in the game, to my knowledge at least, that has a tinted front windshield. As you guys can see, the side windows are definitely more tinted, however the front windshield is actually tinted. Now, it might be hard to tell, but when you compare it to a different car, like this Futo right here, there is quite a difference. This is very tinted. Obviously, if you know anything, you know where the driver sits. It's going to be on that side right there. So you could probably figure out where to aim, but you might not be able to tell who's driving the car. Which, you know, if you're a Mafia boss, that's a pretty good feature. You don't really want people knowing who you are. Not to mention, the Dubsta 2 is also a very, very capable off-road vehicle. It is, of course, a 4-seater. It's just a very versatile vehicle. It has quite a bit of room in the trunk. This thing obviously is equipped with a roof rack and a snorkel, as well as a bull bar. And on top of all of that, if you've never driven a Dubsta in GTA, it's actually not a very slow SUV. Is it the fastest ever? No, definitely not. However, it is definitely not the slowest either. It actually handles pretty decently as well. Overall, the Dubsta 2 is just a solid vehicle. The Dubsta in general, but specifically for this, the Dubsta 2. Now, the Dubsta 2 also is very cool because it is one of the more rare vehicles in Grand Theft Auto Online. There are only a couple of ways that you can actually get this thing anymore, and if you don't know somebody who has one, it is going to be very hard to actually get them to spawn, which does make it cool, and it does provide, you know, a certain level of exclusivity if you do own a Dubsta 2, like I do. So, you know, not to flex, but you know. But yeah, guys, I would definitely recommend, if you don't have a Dubsta at least, I would recommend getting one of those. And if you don't have a Dubsta 2, I'm gonna make a guide on how to get those soon. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, guys, that's it for number 5. Let's move right into number 4. All right, guys, and at number 4, we have the newly removed and also newly added vehicle, the Gallivanter Baller ST. Now, this thing was put into the game for about a week, starting on, I want to say December 21st, and it was removed on the 29th 29th. However, it will be released with the drip feed from the contract DLC quite soon. So if you didn't get one yet, stay patient. It's going to be coming out within the next couple of weeks. We don't exactly know when, but it will be here. The Gallivant Baller ST basically improves on the regular Gallivant Baller in every aspect. This thing is absolutely awesome. And as far as Mafia vehicles go, this thing definitely deserves to be on the list. Of course, the Gallivant Baller is also a 4-seater, which is always good. It has quite a large trunk as well for storing, you know, various goods. And it's also just got better styling than the previous Gallivant Ballers in the game. I know that doesn't really matter for Mafia stuff, but I just figured I'd mention it. And not to mention the performance of this thing is actually way better than any previous Gallivant Baller. So I figured it deserves to be on the list more than any of the other ballers which I've previously had on this list before. It also sounds a lot better than any other Gallivant Baller in the game. I know that also doesn't really matter, but I figured I would mention it. Now, this is actually one of the faster SUVs in the game. Definitely not the fastest, but it's pretty damn quick, I gotta say. It also has a ton of customization options, so you can make this thing look exactly how you want to as a Mafia boss, or maybe not a Mafia boss. Overall, the Gallivant Baller definitely is deserving of being on this list. It makes an awesome getaway vehicle. And of course, you can sit with 3 of your closest friends or Mafia members. Anyway, guys, that's it for number 4. Let's move on to number 3. Alright guys, at number 3 we have the ENUS Super Diamond. Of course, this thing is for one of the top level guys in the Mafia. It is one of the most luxurious cars in GTA, at least the most luxurious looking. I don't know about the interior, but as far as the exterior goes, it's pretty darn good. Of course, this vehicle, like every other vehicle on this list, is a 4-seater, so you can have your best guys with you to protect you at all costs. Now, the ENUS Windsor is a very, very cool car because it is actually pretty cheap. This thing only costs $250,000 from Legendary Motorsport, which is that's a pretty good price. Now, of course, it's not the fastest car ever, maybe not the best looking car ever, but I do think it looks pretty damn good, honestly. But it is a very good car, and it is a very good luxury ride to pick up the boss in, that's for sure. And, you know, if you're the boss, it's a pretty good car to ride in, too. This thing is solid. It actually handles, I want to say, better than the ENUS drop, and I almost want to say it's faster, but I just don't think it is. Overall, just a great luxury car and a great car for the boss to ride around in. If this thing's done in all black with the chrome accents on it, it looks pretty mean, I gotta say. There's really nothing bad to say about this car. It's an absolute classic in GTA 2. It's been out since the game first came out, so it's definitely a car that I feel like everyone should own in Grand Theft Auto Online, regardless of if it's for, you know, being in the Mafia or not. It's a fantastic car. Anyway, guys, let's move on to number 2. Alright, guys, and at number 2, we have the ENUS Deity. Now, the Deity is a really unique car because it just came out with the contract DLC. And the cool thing about it is you can get a armored variant of it, or you can get an unarmored variant of it. You actually only have to buy the Deity once, but if you choose to, for $150,000, you can put armor plating on the doors, which also makes the windows semi-bulletproof. They can take 15 shots before they break, and the car, I've heard, can take 11 RPGs, which is very, very strong, actually. Of course, you can also equip the vehicle with machine guns, and you can also equip it with a proximity mine dropper. However, it doesn't actually drop proximities, it drops proximity slick mines, which drop oil. So if there's cars chasing you, you drop a slick, they hit it, and then you go around a corner, and they slide out for about 3 seconds. Anyway, the car has some pretty cool features. Of course, it is also a 4-door, and as you guys can see, it's a good looking car, man. I mean, let's not play around here. It's a good looking car. Now, it is a little bit more on the expensive side. I think this will run you about 1.7 million plus all the upgrades and everything. You're looking at a $2 million car, but it is well worth the price, I would say. Of course, it is a 4-door, so you can have a few of your buddies in there with you, protect you, or to drive you. Now, getting into the actual performance of the car, it is one of the faster ones on this list. It's also one of the better sounding ones on the list as well. Not that that really matters, but hey, if you care about it, then you care about it. So this thing fully blacked out looks absolutely menacing. It's great. It pretty much looks good in every color though. So that's kind of a nice feature about it too. You can, make it look, however you want, really. Also has a ton of customization features, which is always nice to have as a Mafia boss. You can choose what you want on your car. So pretty good stuff. Of course, also it's got the machine guns, and these machine guns are very effective, actually. They do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, I just crashed the car there, but I'll demonstrate on this Prius just how good these things are. As you can see, the car's on fire already, and yeah, it's, it puts in work, that's for sure. Sorry. about taking your life. Probably wasn't smart to do that right outside the police station as a mafia boss, but that's fine. We'll move on. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for the deity. Let's move into the #1 mafia vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online. Alright, guys, and at #1 we have the newly added ENUS Jubilee. Now, this came in with the contract DLC as well, so it does share a few features with the ENUS deity. You can equip this thing with machine guns and with armor on the sides of it, as well as the proximity mine slick dropper. It also features RC mode and lock-on missile protection, which are 2 more upgrades. I forgot to mention that the deity also has those options, so be mindful, it also has those options. Now, of course, the Jubilee is based off of the Rolls Royce Cullinan in real life, which is a very, very luxurious car. However, in GTA, I think Rockstar may have forgot just what they were making with this interior. It's pretty luxurious. The Jubilee is a very, very good looking car. Obviously, this would be a car that, you know, the Mafia boss would probably own. And of course, like all the other vehicles, it is a 4-door. Now, the trunk space in this car is also pretty good. You could fit at least 2 bodies in here if you needed to, or, you know, some cargo that you may or may not be transporting. Of course, not when the boss is in the car, though. Now, the Jubilee is also one of the fastest SUVs in the game. It is, I believe, within the top 3, if not the top 5 fastest SUVs in the game. I'm pretty sure that this thing actually beats the Toros in a drag race. I think I saw that somewhere. I don't know how true it is, but I have heard that. So, just so you're aware, the Jubilee is no slouch. It is a very, very fast vehicle, and it also handles very nicely. It is, of course, 4-wheel drive as well, so if you did have to do some off-roading, you could do it. Maybe not recommended, but you could do it. Obviously, it's got the armor, it's got the machine guns, it's got the proximity, slick dropper. It's fast, it looks good, it's 4-wheel drive, it's capable. There's nothing really bad about this car, and so that's why I felt like it should be at #1 in this list. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for the video. If you guys enjoyed this video, or if you learned something, leave a like, if not dislike. Comment down below, let me know if there's any cars that you feel like I missed on this list, although of course you're wrong. Subscribe if you guys are new, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.